Carolina Panthers rookie wide receiver Xavier Legette is going to put pressure on second-year player at wide receiver position, Jonathan Mingo. We're going to talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parsons, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I am a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being out every dayers. You know, I got to kick this intro to my guy, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ, man. And the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, man, where we talk draft prospects, we talk draft philosophy, we talk draft strategy, man. This is the number one source for everything NFL draft content. Wise DP. We are talking rookies pushing second-year players. We are talking about Brock Bowers versus Ben Sinnott. This was a race that got really close down the stretch. And then we're going to talk about who's going to have a bigger year one impact out of the linebackers, right? Is it Edgerrin Cooper? Is it Junior Colson? Is it Payton Wilson out there in the Steel City? Man, I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. But DP, before we get this conversation started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with a winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Rookie players, Keith, that can push second year players. I'm going right to Carolina, right in my backyard. Xavier Legette, right? And for me, Keith, this feels like deja vu, right? When we watched Jonathan Mingo get selected, they had TMJ, your boy Terrace Marshall Jr., and I think I said it to you when I went to camp. I didn't like the vibes I got. I saw TMJ. I saw them kind of putting Jonathan Mingo with the first team offense. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, where is this heading? And I think now it's kind of repeating itself just with the quote unquote third coaching staff in 3 years. Essentially, with Dave Canales now, they traded up into the 32nd pick, right? With the Bills to select Xavier Legette, our guy out of South Carolina. I think that this puts Jonathan Mingo on notice. I think this is a situation where you got to show up in year 2, Mingo, or you're the next TMJ, where teams are where this team can look at, well, he didn't take the step we needed him to in 2024. So we might add another receiver in 2025 for Bryce Young if we don't go quarterback. And then your spot really does get taken up by two, a rookie this year and a rookie next year. Mingo I think he had like 490 yards, 500 yards receiving. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, is it all on him? No. Like, the coaching staff was not great. There were some moments where Bryce just didn't connect with him. There was moments he ran the wrong route. It was a lot going wrong in Carolina. But with Xavier Legette coming in, being an explosive athlete, being a big body guy, a guy that can win contested catches, a better route runner than Mingo was coming out. But also, Keith, the guy that's extremely talented after the catch, he just has a better skill set than what Mingo has right now. And if Mingo doesn't find his footing and find his place in this offense, it can really look different a year from now going into the 2025 season.
Yeah, I'll even go further to why this situation for Jonathan Mingo in regards to Xavier Legette is that important. First of all, I think they're totally different players. I think I had a 3rd, 4th round grade on Mingo coming out and have a 1st round grade on Xavier Legette, right? That's just how vastly different I view them. But the other situation is this: when you look at the rest of this roster, right, and you're talking about playing time and you're talking about starting positions, Deontay Johnson, they traded for him. He's going to play. Mm-hmm. Adam Thielen was their best wide receiver. He's going to play, right? Rookie wide receiver Xavier Legette, we said that's the battle, right? That's the battle to see when we go 3 wide, right? If we in 11 personnel, who's going to play. But if you had to ask me, right, off the just one player for one game, pound for pound, who's the better football player, Terrace Marshall or Jonathan Mingo at this point? I'm going Terrace Marshall, right? And then this is the other situation, right? You're talking about because Jonathan Mingo, people, they like the intrigue because he was a big body guy, right? Not extremely fast, but maybe he can play some power slot for you, different things. We forget that they drafted Jatavian Sanders, right? Another flex wide receiver option. So while you say DP, Xavier Legette can push him, Jatavian Sanders can also push him, because while the athletic testing was not there, the game film perspective of it, right? And the productivity, and honestly, just like, let's be completely honest, right? Just the IQ of what they're doing as football players running routes, Jatavian has that part down, right? He was tight end too for a lot of people. Why he dropped was because of the blocking and then the on-field testing, but just running routes as a football player, understanding leverages and how to get open, he knows how to do that. So I think this is a unique situation. DPO is actually two rookies that can potentially push Jonathan Mingo.
I like that. I didn't even low-key, I forgot about Jatavian Sanders being drafted there. But 100%, like, because, like you said, Thielen's going to be on the field. Xavier's going to find his way on, going to be on the field as a first-round pick. And then, of course, Adam Thielen, right? Yep. And it's like, okay, so if they go 11 personnel, they throw Jatavian Sanders in that tight end. You got X, you got Deontay, you got Adam Thielen. And it's like, Mingo, where do you fit in now? You know what I mean? So, 100, like – This is going to be a camp battle or a camp situation to watch for him. And I'm planning on attending Panthers camp for a couple of days again to try to kind of get a vibe for what Dave Canales is doing, similar to what I did last year with Frank Reich. You remember my sentiments when I called you after practice? I was like, I don't like this. Yep. And he got fired midway through the season. So I'm looking forward to going out there, man. That's a great call out, though. Man, this might be some dark days for Jonathan Mingo if he don't go out there and dominate in camp.
Yeah, he has to. This is the most important offseason probably of his career, right? Leading into this. DP, I'm gonna go fly, Eagles fly, right? And I'm gonna go to rookies pushing second-year players. Defensive side of the football, man. We talking about they drafted two last year. Well, I think they signed Elias Ricks as a free agent and then drafted Kelee Ringo, right? And then now this year you follow that up with what? Another duo, the Quinyon Mitchell and the Cooper DeJean. I don't know how you don't take that as like a clear sign, right? Hey, they might be trying to get rid of me, right? Like and if you're Elias Ricks and Kelee Ringo, right? You gotta go show up, right? And I spent a lot of time with Elias Ricks. Know he has the instincts, the ball skills, all of those different things. And then now I think the interesting part is going to be the Quinyon Mitchell insert too. You know what I'm saying? Like him inserted into this situation. Because Elias played. He had good reps for them last year. Made some plays out there and things like that. But it'd be interesting to see what they decide to go with, because if I had to bucket them, I think Elias, Kelee, and Cooper, they all have similar high levels. Like their best skill sets are all similar, right? And it's probably cover three. Elias may have probably the best ball, and I won't say probably. At LSU, he had the best ball skills, instincts for the position, and I think you can kind of bucket those three into that situation. With Kelee maybe not having the best instincts, but being a cover three corner, having length, being able to run things like that. That's crazy.
That was like my other option. That was like, all right, if I don't go Carolina, I'm gonna go here with that. So you actually on the same path as me. 100%. I think. Like I said, with Ricks, he was an undrafted free agent that they signed. Kelee Ringo was a 4th-round pick. They start the draft in round 1 and 2 with corners, with DBs. So it's definitely a situation where, of course, we know that they're going to push the veterans too. Like James Bradbury had a horrible season last year. So Darius Slade, they need somebody that they can feel comfortable putting opposite of him. I wouldn't be surprised they still let Bradbury try and be the starter. But in camp, if Mitchell or Cooper DeJean is playing better than the vet, then why won't you start one of those young cats, right? Like I don't know. I think Ringo, like, because of draft capital, because a lot of times that matters. I'm really interested to see which one of these corners from last year will be the odd man out. Will it be Ringo or will it be Ricks? Because of the fact that they actually drafted Ringo, they got Ricks after the draft. You know what I mean? Where it was like, we drafted you because we wanted you on the defense. And then also with Vic Fangio, do you feel like Ricks, I can't remember how we felt about Ricks coming out. I felt like he was better. Like, was he better in man than zone? But it was more so the athleticism questions of being able to run with guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. But he was pretty good in zone too. Like that year LSU, that was the COVID year. I think that's when did he lead the country in interceptions or something? It was something ridiculous, but that was a lot of zone coverage though. So it'll be like this may be a better fit for him just because you talking about like the athletic threshold. So that's what I said. And I think I forgot where I said this at, but if you had to get a camp and I'm like watching DBs compete, I'm going to Philadephia Eagles camp, right? Because this is going to be fun because you know that everybody's fighting for a position, and this is not even including the veterans that's on the team, right? Talking about Darius Slay and James Bradbury. So they're at what 6-7 corners deep, and we're talking about for roster positions now. Like we're talking about who's going to be on this team, come September and things like that. So this is going to be extremely exciting. It should be a storyline that we should pay attention to nationally. I know we're covering it, right? Because we, that's what we do, right? We do the deep dive, we pay attention to the details, but it's going to be extremely exciting. DP, let's keep this thing going, man. With I can already tell where this may go. We have a Brock Bowers versus Ben Sinnott conversation, right? Tight end 1, in my opinion, Brock Bowers versus tight end ? Right? I'm not even put a number on it. We're gonna have this conversation, man, about who would you rather in what situation. So we're gonna have this conversation. Brock Bowers with the Las Vegas Raiders, Ben Sinnott with the Washington Commanders coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. And guys, FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Because right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Again, right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 that you can use to bet on multiple things like spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. What do you need to do? Simple. Just go visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Brock Bowers versus Ben Sinnott. And it's more not, and guys, it wasn't something that we ever talked about pre-draft, right? It was Brock Bowers at the top, and there was a clear drop-off to 2, 3, and whoever else. But now that we know where they landed, it's kind of a weird situation to me, Keith, because like I think there's a clear path for Ben Sinnott, right, as tight end 1 for the Washington Commanders. It's a position they've needed to upgrade it for some years now. Their best tight end was a converted quarterback in Logan Thomas that was playing tight end. He did well, don't get me wrong. He did a good job, but they've needed somebody to take the reins and be that next guy. And then Brock Bowers falls to a situation where they spent a second-round pick on the tight end the year before. So when you look at these two landing spots, how do you feel? Not saying do you feel differently. We still think that Brock Bowers is the superior player, but do you feel like the situations are going to let one or the other be more productive?
I don't know. And I guess that's not the answer that you want or the people want, right? But I'm always going to point back to the quarterback situation. And I think we're dealing with a bunch of unknowns, right? When you talk about the Brock Bowers with Las Vegas Raiders, right? And honestly, this is the conversation. I almost put Brock Bowers in the first segment because he's going to push Michael Mayer probably, honestly, down the depth chart, right? Like that's going to happen. I almost said that conversation, but with the expectation of Brock Bowers being the starter, right? You don't draft a guy top 15 and he's not the starter at whatever position he's playing. He's going to be one of the 11. And then Ben Sinnott, I think he's going to offer something that, like you said, the Commanders haven't had in a while, and that's probably a well-rounded tight end prospect. But the part where I get into the question marks is the quarterbacks, right? And if you had to ask me, do I like Jaden Daniels or do I like Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew? Of course, I like Jaden Daniels, potential higher, right? But I think this is something where if you're talking about this year, we're talking about a rookie quarterback, you're talking about a new system, you're talking about everybody getting to know each other, right, with the Commanders, that it may take 6-7 weeks potentially for it to start to look like something. I'm probably still going to go with the Raiders because even if it's not Aiden O'Connell and it's Gardner Minshew, I like Minshew, and like I like him as my backup quarterback, right? Like I think he's tough, he's gritty, he's gonna get after it a little bit, right? I like him and it's obviously we're not talking about top 10 because if Keith said he loves Gardner Minshew as a it's like, I just like him on my team, right? I want him on my team. My backup guy, he has to come in for serviceable snaps. You know what he has, and I think we talked about this already, but he's this era's version of Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? Like that's what he will be. So I'm going to lean Gardner Minshew, and because I'm leaning Gardner Minshew, I'm going to leave Brock Bowers, and plus, I obviously just think he's the better tight end prospect also.
Yeah, and Uncle Rico, freaking, Gardner Minshew, man. He got is going to probably still be in the league 4 or 5 years from now, as ushering another young quarterback, because he's that good for your team, right? He's not going to cause any problems. The Raiders situation, yeah, the QB situation is of course to me talent-wise is a downgrade. Jaden is a superior player to Aiden O'Connell, right? I just think I wonder how the target's going to work too, because both of these guys are going into offenses where there's a number 1 and a number 2 receiver, right? You know that there's Devonta Adams, Jacoby Myers in Las Vegas. Then you have Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, in Washington with the Commanders. This is tough because I want to go Brock because he's the better player, but I'm like, I don't even know how they're going to use him yet. You know what I mean? Like I've thought of ways to use him, but I'm like, that the NFL doesn't always do what we think should happen. You know what I mean?
Right. So I guess the question comes down with Ben Sinnott is that when you watched him, did you see a guy that can heavily contribute in the passing game, or like what? Because so for those out there, I think I ended Ben Sinnott with a 4th round grade, right? Somewhere in there with a 4th round grade. The reason that I found him intriguing was because of all of the different positions that he can play, right? Playing a fullback role, H-back, flex Y, inline tight end. The fact that he can do so many different things was why I found the intrigue in him. I did not see a guy who had high level upside as a pass catcher. That's not why I gave him that grade, right? I gave him that grade because he's a jack of all trades, right? Kind of one of those type of situations. And that's where I found the value in him. But I want to ask you, because we're talking about Brock Bowers, because Brock Bowers is another jack of all trades too. You can do a lot of different things with him. But do you see the value in Ben Sinnott as the pass catcher? And, are you saying that he's one of those guys that can, let's say, because it's so difficult to say like a top 5 tight end in receiving yards, right? Like let's put the threshold at like top 7, top 8 in the NFL, because I think there's way more variance in that, right? Like because it's usually Travis Kelce, George Kittle, one other guy, and then a fall off, right? So,
no, I think I did. I think I gave Sinnott like a 2nd round grade. I think I gave him like a back into the 2nd type grade. I liked what I saw from him. I thought he was a good route runner. I didn't think he was like an explosive, he's not Kyle Pitts, you know what I mean, in terms of like running 4.4. Neither one of these guys are Kyle Pitts in terms of like pure speed right out the gate type thing. But I did feel like after the catch, he showcased good open field speed. He was, the route running and understanding of tempoing and head fakes and knowing how to like move guys off the spot and get to his spot. And even though he had, for whatever reason, he had drops at the Senior Bowl, I felt like his hands on tape were better than I saw at the Senior Bowl. So that's kind of the situation when you watch the tape, you're like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable with this. Then he gets to the Senior Bowl, I'm like, what just happened? And it was like, all right, how do I value which one or the other, right? But I do think there's good upside for Ben Sinnott. I even mentioned George Kittle's name because I like his blocking is really good. Like I remember cutting up some clips. I just never posted them, but they're like against Texas. They used him as they ran wham, and he was the wham blocker from the tight end spot on Byron Murphy. You know what I mean? Stonewalled him. And I'm like, okay, this is a different cat because most tight ends nowadays aren't doing that, right? Like that's that George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, I don't mind getting bloody and dirty type of blocking, you know what I mean, to go and block an interior defensive tackle, a 300-pounder, big, strong, physical guy like Byron Murphy, and then stonewall him and stand him up. Like 100%, I think there is upside for him. I'm gonna make my pick because I've been dancing around this topic.
Yeah, you have. You kind of avoiding this, DP. You kind of avoiding the situation. We got to get in the water, baby.
I'm in my own head, Keith. I've been talking to myself in and out of this situation. I'm gonna go with Brock because he is the better player.
Go.
I'm gonna go with
there
Brock
we
because he's
go.
the better player.
There we go. I knew you was gonna bring it back home, DP. I knew you was gonna come back home, baby.
And like you said, it's a top 15 pick. As much as I liked Michael Mayer, you remember the conversation we had on our TDM meetings last year. I said I have questions about his athleticism and what he can do after creating the initial separation. I don't have those questions with Brock Bowers. I know if he catches the ball after he separates, he can take it the distance. So I think he will leapfrog Michael Mayer and put Michael Mayer as a tight end too. I just hope that they use him the way I want them to use him and go with the 12 personnel stuff. You want to split out to 11, just bump Brock Bowers into the power slot and let him cook against some linebackers. Just do right by the kid. But I'm going to go with Brock Bowers because, he's clearly the best tight end in this class.
Yeah, for sure. I think this will be an interesting conversation. I'm actually, the more we talk through the Ben Sinnott situation with Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, the two guys on the outside, I'm intrigued. Yeah, to add that part to it. And I mean, you would know more because you watch a lot of the Arizona Cardinals to know how much they use tight ends and things like that. I think it's going to be an interesting situation and definitely an interesting storyline to pay attention to. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. We're talking linebackers, right? We're talking about the people in the middle of the defense, right? The people in control, your green dot guys, right? That's what we like to call it. We're going to talk about which rookie linebacker is going to have the bigger impact, right? Junior Colson out there with the Los Angeles Chargers. You got Payton Wilson. He went in the third round also to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or you have Edgerrin Cooper, who I believe went in the second round to the Green Bay Packers. And which guys, all of them, I feel they're going to get a significant snaps. But which one is going to have the bigger year one impact? Coming up next.
All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that, but there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent freezes. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Bigger year one impact. You got Payton Wilson, Junior Colson, and Edgerrin Cooper. And this was a tough, this is tough for me because I like all three of these dudes. And like you said, I think all three of them get on the field heavily as rookies, right? And I thought about it. I was like, all right. Whereas I think Junior Colson is probably going to be the guy that plays Mike Backer out of all these dudes. I think Payton and Edge are going to play more on the outside where you just let that natural athleticism just be a dude, right? Just go be a playmaker as like a weak side. I think both of them could probably play strong side too. You know what I mean? Walk up on the tight end, defend the run, that type of thing. I'm gonna go with Peyton. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Peyton Wilson. I think Peyton Wilson, looking at the defensive line in front of him, to me it's between Peyton Wilson and Edge Cooper. Because the defensive lines in front of these guys will allow them to be able to roam and make the plays they need to make, right? Where I think Junior Colson, that interior defensive line, isn't as stout to keep blockers from climbing to that second level. And what was kind of the thing we talked about with Junior was like, man, when he sees it, you can see the athleticism. He can get to the spot. But there's a little bit of delayedness when it comes down to his processing and him trusting his eyes at time. I don't think that he's a guy that doesn't see it. I just think he's a guy that sees it and is kind of, am I sure I'm seeing this right? Like the mesh point and different stuff like that, where I think both Edge and Peyton, they see it, they get to it. It's not even a question. They trigger downhill, they make the play, they drop off in the coverage. But I think all three of these guys will make impacts. But I'm gonna go with Peyton slightly over Edge because with Cam, you got Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Keanu Benton, and then a litany of other interior defensive linemen. Excuse me, that will basically keep him clean and allow him to just be a playmaker in Mike Tomlin's defense. And I think Edgerrin Cooper. I think you always say this, like the Green Bay Packers always draft defense, but their defense is never like elite. And from everybody I've talked to with the Packers, like fans and stuff, they always go back to their DC. They don't like their defensive coordinator. They was like, man, he doesn't do things and call things the way that you would expect them to call it with the talent that they have. So I think that could hold Edge back a little bit with the DC. I'm trusting Mike Tomlin and that coaching staff to make sure Peyton Wilson is going to. I'm gonna say this: Peyton Wilson is going to be the impact player that we wish Devin Bush would have been for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like that. I like that statement. DP, I'm right there with you. I'm going Peyton Wilson. That's my guy. I'm on tap, right? Just get the guy ACL, right? When you get him ACL, and you got one of the best linebackers in the NFL. If that's the issue, right? We'll go get you one.
Somebody call Jeff Bezos and get an ACL shipped to Pittsburgh ASAP.
But nah, man. So I obviously, and I think Peyton not only has the opportunity to make like the rookie impact, like of all the rookies, I think he can make an NFL impact. If what I'm seeing on film at NC State translates, this guy I think can step in and be one of the best linebackers in the NFL. That's my declaration. I'm saying it, and if I'm wrong, people come tell me about it right after this. I like Peyton Wilson a lot. But listen, I want to talk about the Green Bay situation because I agree with you. It's DP is just weird. Because I'm looking at the depth chart, right? And when you look at this defense on paper, if I tell you Preston Smith, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, you saying, oh man, that's a really good front, right? But then I'm DP, look at the backups: Lucas Van Ness, Carl Brooks, Kobe Wooden, right? Like Brenton Cox Jr., Kingsley Enikbari. You have a rotation of 8. Right, to get after it. And then I like what they did on the back end, right? You talk about Jair Alexander, right? Then you have Javon Biller, Xavier McKinney, which you're going to put those two guys in there. Then you have my guy, Corey Ballantyne. You have Katan Aladapo, who they just drafted. And a sneaky pickup, right, was Kalen King, because this is a guy this is where you take the swings on a guy like Kalen King in the back end of the draft. And you say, hey, if we can get you to do something, any semblance of what you did year 2 at Penn State, then we are rocking, right? And I like him because I think this is a perfect situation because I think he is built very similarly to a Jair Alexander. And the reason that I talk about build is because even in my time at LSU, right, you have to almost put some of these corners in buckets of what they should be able to do well just because of their body profiles, right? And I think that Jair body profile and Kalen King's body profile is being able to win with foot quickness, fluidness, the hips, those type of things, it correlates, right? So if he just I'm just telling Kalen King, just follow Jair around, right? Whatever drills he do, you do them, right? Whenever he steps, you step, right? You just do everything he does. And if we get anything close to whatever year 2 was of Kalen King, there's another good pickup. But to go back to my point is that I want to say I like Edgerrin Cooper in this situation, but it's just what has been going on in Green Bay. Because there's a lot of talent out there, DP. I listed off all the talent they had. This should be a continuing top 5 defense. This, like you're talking about, they draft the defensive players well. They draft good defensive player well. They draft them high, and then we don't get it. So I want to say Edgerrin Cooper, huh?
It's like, what's the problem? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Basically. No, that's exactly how you look at it. So I want to say Edgerrin Cooper. I'm going to say Edgerrin Cooper in that number 2 spot, and then I'll say Junior Colson at the number 3 spot. But it should be fun. I think it's going to be an intriguing situation. These linebackers to watch them should be pretty fun just to check out this entire situation. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your number 1 source for everything NFL draft content. I want to say shout out to Everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Listen, we said the draft is over, but we on to 2025, and we on to all these intriguing situations, right? As we kick off rookie, the mini camps, the OTAs, the just everything, right? The voluntary workouts, involuntary workouts, just we covering the whole gamut, man, over here as we follow these rookies through their transition and we kick off this 2025 class. So, man, listen, this is the best NFL content that there is out there. So y'all make sure y'all tap in with us. Listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. There right there's my co-host, my guy, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we always like to see, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. On tomorrow's episode, listen, we're going to get into year 2 quarterbacks. We're going to rank these guys and what their situations look like heading into 2024 after free agency, after the NFL draft. Which one of these quarterbacks from 2023, whose stock is up, whose stock may be a little bit lower. So we're going to get into all of that tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.